Good morning. Betting for breakfast powered by the Sharp app. It is a beautiful day to bet college football coming off a shocking week two. Down goes Ohio State. Down goes Iowa State. Oregon, Iowa, putting the top 10 on notice. And week three is going to be even better. Bama in the swamp, Auburn at Happy Valley in the whiteout on prime time. We got actions, sides, totals, best bets. We got everything. I'm Mark Drumheller. I'm here with Dave Glechter. And we get better each week here on Betting for Breakfast. This week, we have Lexi, the producer, behind the scenes, giving us some much needed technical support. We're going to bring her on in our last segment, live from Ann Arbor. Huge Michigan fan. You guys are going to love her. She's awesome. I can't wait. Dave, the top 10 is never going to look the same, right? You look dialed in today to pick some winners. What were your thoughts on all the things we saw last week? USC fires Clay Helton. The top 10 teams go down. What's your take?
Yeah, it's college football, baby. And it's what we want. We want turmoil. We want chaos. We don't need the top four always being Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson. Two of those teams I already mentioned have losses this year. It's awesome. It's what, you're starting to see, and we talked about this college football season being a little different than years past because now you bring in a lot of the fans, you bring in a lot of unknown. Some teams didn't play last year, some teams practiced barely, and some teams played in the spring. It's all over the place, and it's really what it should be. That's what we want. We want to see just an exciting year. We want to see new blood, and that's what we're getting. And kudos, hats off to Iowa. Read that line wrong when we talked last week. They are the more physical team. They're a real threat in the Big Ten. Wisconsin has already showed a little weakness, and they could really get to the Big Ten championship game. And then obviously talking about another Big Ten team that you did, Ohio State. I mean, would they roll up 600 plus yards against Oregon? But then they just can't stop anybody. And even in the big moments, they just weren't able to convert. And Oregon was. And Anthony Brown was solid. Very surprising because they really couldn't move the ball against Fresno State. They moved it all day on Ohio State, had over 500 total yards. So craziness. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, it's everything that we want. And the volatility is kind of what we love about college football, the excitement, the upsets and seeing, everybody get kind of, put on notice with Iowa. Like, I think Iowa, the way they're winning, like we know Petrus, isn't the best quarterback in the nation.
No.
Right? Like, we know they have their limitations, but they create turnovers. We saw them do it against Indiana, and it's like, okay, now do it against Iowa State. And they did just that, right? I think they had 4 turnovers, which really changed, the complexity of the game. I think, Iowa is a team that a lot of people need to watch out for. It's going to be interesting to see if that defense can continue to make plays down the stretch. But last week was a crazy week. Not going to lie, full transparency, took it on the chin, right? Lost with Texas, lost with Utah against BYU, and lost with NC State. And Dave, like, I can handle Texas. Like, I'm a big fan of Sark. All gas, no brakes, right? I thought they were going to be really good this year. They weren't ready to face the SEC competition. That's fine, right? Utah, whatever. Holy War, BYU, forget it, trash it. I can't get over this NC State game, Dave. I can't get over it. I felt like I had the right side there, and they had the momentum in the beginning of the game, and that stupid drive changed the whole thing. It changed the entire game.
A running back option pass? A running back option pass at the goal line.
It's unbelievable. You don't get cute like that on the road. How can you get cute like that on the road? Like, it makes no sense in that spot when you're playing up in conference against a Miss State team, is calling a jump pass like that. And then before that, Dave, it is where I really started to get upset. The 2 bubble screens, right? The one bubble screen gets you to the 3, and then you call the exact same play again. The exact same play. Like, what is wrong? Like, are you seeing double in the sidelines? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, do you lose your place in the play chart? Like, what happened there? Like, why would you call that bubble screen again? Now you get into a third down, you feel all the pressure, and you call some silly play like a jump pass. Your running back throws an interception. It was just awful. I was just so disappointed. NC State's a team, we talked about it. I had them pegged is a sneaky team. I like them over the win total of the 8.5. And they let me down big time. And that was one that I felt like I was on the right side, and they just totally blew that game.
I feel your frustration. But hey, listen, on my side, 2-1 last week on the show. Nailed App State. Really, they should win that game outright. Nailed Toledo. They should have won the game against Notre Dame outright. And, we made a little slip. What was it? I know we talked Ohio State and Michigan here. I'm Ohio State and Oregon, and we leaned Ohio State. But hey, sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. But those two games are keys because those were my two big Group of 5 teams. That I really thought could compete for one of those, big bowls. And they are. They're going to compete. They're probably not going to get there with those losses, those close losses. But it just shows you how narrow sometimes that Group of 5 gap is to these big Power 5 teams. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit today with Cincinnati, Indiana.
Yeah. Cincinnati, Indiana, a huge game. I'm excited, man. And, when I look at the card and the way it lays out, there's just a lot of big games, and we're going to continue to find a lot about these teams.
I remember. Can I take a mulligan last week? I lost A&M because their starting quarterback broke his knee on the first series. So I'm gonna take a mulligan. All right, I was 2-1 because that dude goes out and they looked horrible after that. Jimbo, I'm done.
It's another top 10 team, right? Contending team that we expected to see a lot from. They kind of saw their season, go down to injury, right? Like, I mean, you're seeing the line now, with Texas A&M. That's pretty much it. Without Haynes King, they don't have a lot of confidence in what they can do going forward. But just so many upsets last week. So much volatility in the top 10. Top 15 range. USC gets fired. Fires Clay Helton finally. But I thought the timing was weird, right? They had the big loss to Stanford, which I get is embarrassing. But I thought that it was just, you're almost throwing the season away at that point anyway.
Yeah, you really are. USC's done, man, and they're done. Their patience with Helton was wearing thin anyway. He could have been done a few times, but they finally to pull it in week 2. You're pretty much saying this season's over. And now they're trying to reel in guys like Urban Meyer. You see Eric Bieniemy talking about it in news conferences. You see James Franklin talking about it. It's
Yep.
I'm going to be honest with you. Why does that an upgrade? Like, why anymore would are we pulling big names to a place like USC? And I know we had our days back and when Pete Carroll was there and they were a force, but it ain't that way anymore. So I mean, a guy like James Franklin, why? Like, I don't know. I think he's got a gig.
Hollywood for that job, man. You got to be a little Hollywood for that job, I feel like. And, it's not, to me, I don't think it's as desirable as they think it is at USC, for sure. But, it's interesting you brought up App State, and I thought that was a great call by you last week, taking advantage of Miami off that Alabama loss.
That's it.
And just having them get shredded week 1. And then they got to kind of bounce back against the team. So you took App State. I thought it was a tremendous call. And Miami has an interesting game this week. And I think that this is a game that I've heard a lot on both sides. I just want to touch on it real quick because it was a game that I wanted to bet, Dave. I wanted to bet Michigan State with all my heart. I love what Mel Tucker's doing. I think, Kenny Walker coming in there with the running game. Listen, they're going to be a good program in a couple of years, I feel like. But I'm not sure if they're ready to take on Miami. I think they can win the game, I feel like, but then they're down there in the heat. And Miami just has such a big talent edge that I couldn't pull the trigger. And, I was just interested to get your thoughts real quick. Obviously, didn't bet the game, but, what you think is going to happen down there in Miami. Do you think Miami's going to pull that one out, or do you think Michigan State can surprise some people?
I would take Michigan State. And one of the reasons with the points. And one of the big reasons is Miami can't stop anybody from getting in the backfield right now. They can't protect Derek King. I think they had, somewhere in the neighborhood of 23 quarterback rushes. They're really struggling with pass protection, which means they're really not running the ball well either. Michigan State obviously showing last year was just throw it away, right? 2-5. Mel Tucker's first year, just a complete chaos. Lexi, we talked about it off the screen. Rocky Lombardi, he ain't that dude, right? So they got rid of him. Kind of just did a complete turnover, but they did keep 5 offensive line starters. And I think that just helped them keep things intact. What they are doing is they're hitting on some home runs. 3 scores over 75 yards so far this year. They're a big play offense that they weren't even close to last year. So you have a team that's on the up and up, and you have a Miami team, again, that's still, the best thing that happened last week is they saved that cat. I mean, I know they won the game, but, they saved that cat was the best thing that happened there because they should have lost. Until they can figure out that offensive line trouble, I would take the points. I'm not saying it's my bet, but that's the side I would lean.
Yeah, I would. I wanted to bet that game so bad,
and
I just couldn't. And I was sitting around for a while, and I'm like, if this thing gets to 7, I don't know if I can lay off it. And it hasn't gotten to 7 yet, but it's a team I'm rooting for. I did a write up on Yahoo, on the Michigan State, and I think that they do have a little bit of promise. I like the direction they're going. Obviously, they have a long way to go, and that was one of the things that kind of reasons why I laid off it too is. If you just look at the roster, if you just look at recruiting and you look at the rosters that they have, massive talent edge for Miami, just massive talent edge. And, this game, I think if Miami didn't get blown out, like before the season, I think this game was lined at like 2 touchdowns, like 14, 16 points. And now we're seeing it, a 6.5-point spread because of early success from Michigan State and, Miami being slow out the gate. So I just couldn't bring myself to make the wager.
I'm close, but it won't flip. It won't flip. Now they're at like -1 or -105 for 6.5. I don't think it's getting to 7.
It might go the other way, right?
And I tell you what, if Miami somehow loses this game, you will never, ever see them schedule Alabama ever again. Like they're not going to go and get their mouths beat in and then ruin their season week 1. I mean, it's a factor. I'm telling you, it's a factor.
It is. It's something to keep an eye on, and we're going to see next week with Florida.
Yes,
just teams coming off that type of game. You know what I mean? Like even if Florida keeps it competitive today, like just it's so physically exerting. Like you're just playing up in competition, and how do you respond the following week? Is there just an automatic letdown? And that's something for us to keep an eye on during the season because there could be some advantages there. But, Dave, let's get into some picks. But before we do, guys, everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. Go sign up at SharpBets app if you haven't. Get access to all the pro sports betting models, the Sharp Academy. There's educational resources on there, YouTube videos for every level of sports bettor. Use promo code FREEMDRUM. You can see it at the bottom. You'll get 10% off. You'll get a free 30 days, to get all the content, all the models, all the information that we're using each week when we're making our picks. But Dave, let's get started with week 3, a rivalry game. The best part about college football is these rivalries. I can just feel Lexi in the background steaming up when we're talking about Michigan State in a positive way. But let's get to West Virginia, Virginia. That's one of your plays. This is a game where there's been a little market resistance on both sides. I know a lot of people feel strongly about the Hokies. West Virginia is a team that I love the coach. I love what he's doing, but there was just a lot of turnover this year. They're laying 2.5 here. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite games on the board today. It's your classic ranked team going to an unranked team, and the unranked team's a favorite. And if you see these and you want to pounce on, what's in your memory about Virginia Tech? I mean, they're the 15th team in the nation, but they beat North Carolina, one of the top 10 teams early in the season in that crazy opening scene down in Blacksburg, Virginia. And then they struggled a little bit last week, but were able to get the win 35-17, pulled away after halftime. They were up 14-7 and eventually won 35-17. And we're going to rivalry. You talked about they used to be in the same conference at one time, 53rd meeting, but it's the first since 2017 between these two schools. So ranked versus unranked. It's one of those things that, who has that momentum, who has that edge, who has that, kind of build up. And you're playing in West Virginia. They're hyped. That place is going to be rocking today, just like Vatech was against North Carolina. And I really, really like the Mountaineers today with the spread and even sprinkle a little on the money line. We're looking at it's gotten down to 1.5 now, opened at 3. So a lot of late money coming on Virginia Tech, but I don't know why. And the reason I'm not sure why is let's look at West Virginia. I did have Maryland versus West Virginia that opening game, but I'll tell you what, I got a little lucky. The reason I got lucky is West Virginia just dropped the ball on the ground 4 times, 4 turnovers. They lost the turnover about a 4-0 in that game. And In fact, they had another turnover last week. They're down -5 in the turnover margin this year. That's usually, somewhat of a unluck, put the ball on the ground. It's a 50% chance. Who gets, who doesn't. Right now, they're not on the right side of that. And then you look at Virginia Tech. They've forced 4 turnovers, 4 interceptions, 3 against Sam Howell in week 1. But really, so you have 2 teams. One's creating turnovers, one's, throwing it away. I see that to come back to a little bit of a normalized situation. The next part, at home too, right? Or is Jared Doege just going to throw the ball away, quarterback from West Virginia? I don't think so. I think he'll have a controlled game. But really the key for me is the quarterback out of Virginia Tech, Braxton Burmeister. He's only thrown for 155 yards a game. They struggle to move the ball, especially in the air. They have a pretty good rushing attack. But West Virginia, as you know, Drums, you highlight, they were 4th nationally in defense last year. They're still a solid front. They've used a little bit of turnover, but they brought in some good recruits on the back end. So I don't think Virginia Tech has a chance to move the ball efficiently through the air. I see another under 200-yard game. They're going to have to rely on the ground game and turnovers. If you got to rely on those 2 things, I just don't think that's a good recipe for a win. I like the Mountaineers in this one. Give me the -2, now down to -1.5, and give me the money line. You're only juicing up you can get 125 some places. I'll be pouncing on both. WVU, baby.
The Mountaineers. I got to love it, man. And listen, I think the program is going in the right direction, but obviously, Va-Tech, West Virginia, they both have circled this game, even though they don't get to play each other as much anymore. I think it's going to be a huge matchup. And, it's going to, again, in week 3, we're learning so much about these teams each week. And I think this is another situation like that because, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about it. I feel like so much confidence in Va-Tech based off of that one game in week 1 against North Carolina on national TV. The whole world had North Carolina. The whole world had Sam Howell, Heisman tickets, and they were shredding them all by the end of the night. They were done. They were cooked. And all they remember from that game is Va-Tech took their money. So now they're coming to get their money back. They're back in Va-Tech. We'll see if it pans out. We're going on the other side. We're going West Virginia.
And let me give you 2 quick, West Virginia's won 6 straight home games. They're 8-3 against the spread in their last 11 September games. Va-Tech on the other side, 1-6 ATS on the road in the last 7. You can pick some numbers that you like. 5-2 Va-Tech is against West Virginia in the last 7 ATS. But again, like I said, they haven't played since 2017, so I kind of throw that one out. I take those other 3. I like those trends too to meet my side.
6-0 in their last 6. It's like Vegas. You go to West Virginia. There's so much to do. There's so much going on. It's hard to concentrate in the game, right?
Yeah, you got to follow their Instagram accounts, man. Those signs that they hang outside those frats and stuff, man. Those people are wild.
They do. I'll tell you what. They do have a good time at West Virginia University. I know plenty of people who've gone there. Drew Smith from the Liberty Line. I knew some people growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I got a good friend who lives out there, and that's a party, man. That is a party going on out there. But listen, let's take it down to the swamp. The featured game this week that we're going to talk about is going to be Alabama, number 1 ranked Alabama, taking on Florida. Big game, Dan Mullen in the swamp. Very excited about this matchup, Dave. We have Alabama, the opening line, -14, 57 on the total. We've seen that total shoot up to 60. The applied score at 60 would be 37-23. 36-22. We're kind of rounding up on the graphic there. But Florida 0-2 against the spread, right? But very explosive on offense. We see their yards per play and the explosive plays there. Dave, what is your take? Again, this is a game where I've seen people on both sides. Some people think that Alabama is the play here. They're just so much better. They're more dominant. What is your take on this game? Can they go down to the swamp, Bryce Young, in a hostile environment, and really beat the brakes off this Florida team?
They can. And I think the key for me in this game, and I wish, maybe we'll know a little more when we get to 3:30, but the key for me is what is Dan Mullen, head coach of the Florida Gators, going to do at quarterback? And, you got Emory Jones, who, was their, he picked him to start, has really struggled in the 2 opening games. And you're starting to hear clamoring from the Florida faithful that they need to see more of Anthony Richardson, the freshman quarterback who's come in and really showed a different angle, a different dynamic to this offense. He's your typical, very versatile QB, very mobile QB, hasn't shown much through the air, but their run option game has been really good so far when he's in. And I think if they have a chance in this game, I think Richardson's got to play more of the snaps than Jones, and I actually think he should start. Give Alabama that wrinkle that they're not ready for. I'm sure Saban's coached it up, and I'm sure he's looking at both sides. But it's different when the speed comes out there. And I think if Dan Mullen has that, courage to go there and pull that trigger, I think they have a shot to stay competitive in this game. But what I really like, and I mean, we've talked Bryce Young. I also see a little bit injury potential on Alabama's defense. Linebacker Will Anderson, he's just dynamic. Probably going to miss this one with a bad knee. They haven't said yet, but looking at that, little soft on there. Offense could be, really interesting in Florida. I like the over in this game. That's the side I would lean. We've noted before how Alabama likes to put up points. They really hit the over a lot. 60 doesn't sound too bad. And I really think you got a good chance of a shootout down there in the Swamp. You put the implied score up of 36-22, I think it was. It's right on that number of 60. I think Florida has enough to push this one over.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad play at all, Dave. Didn't bet it, not an official play, but would lean towards the over, especially with the uncertainty at quarterback with Florida. I think we're going to see Anthony Richardson. I think we're going to see him in a big way today. I think that he's really their best bet to get this game competitive and to kind of, if they're going to pull out a win. And, you talked about Will Anderson, right? Their best pass rusher, might not go. I know he practiced Thursday, not sure if he's going to go, but even if he does go, he's probably going to be a little bit compromised, right? So he's not going to be the same, the guy. So, I think Florida could be game in this. If you're getting it at I've seen some 15s out there. I would probably lean more towards that side. Again, didn't bet the game, not an official play, but would probably lean there. I just think we're going to see a lot of Anthony Richardson. I think that, Mullen knows that this is his shot. He's not going to beat them with Emory Jones. And they've been explosive on offense. I mean, 17 explosive plays and 20-plus yards or more. So I think they're going to be able to put up points on the Alabama defense. And, we saw with some young quarterbacks already. We saw with Sam Howell, him having a little trouble week one. We saw Spencer Rattler, on the road. He kind of struggles a little bit. So, Bryce Young going on the road in Florida in the Swamp, that place is going to be crazy. They're going to be nuts.
Crazy.
They're going to be
CJ Stroud,
absolutely nuts. Right. We saw CJ Stroud struggle a little bit on the road. So, I think that it's something that you can't just kind of gloss over. I think if you can get it now, listen, if it gets to 14, forget about it. But if you can get 14 and a half, 15, I would probably lean Florida and the over on this one. Obviously didn't bet it, but I do think that they're the sides. But it's going to be a tremendous game, without a doubt, Dave.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very excited for this game. It's just, it's one of the big games in the SEC this year. Obviously, you're going to see Bama, Georgia at some point. But, outside of that, anytime Bama straps one on, especially Florida's 11th in the nation, they're going to have an A&M game later. This is one of the top 3-4 big games in the SEC for sure. And I'm excited to see because I don't know what Florida is. That's my confusion. I really don't know what they are. And don't forget, they made a big BCS game last year or whatever you call it now, the Big Six, but against Oklahoma. So this was a very, very good team last year until they got hit by the injury bug. So are they good? I don't. Are they 11th? I don't know. And I think they'll really tell us.
Yeah, we're definitely going to find out about both these teams. It's having fans back in the stadium is incredible, and I think today is going to be another display of that. But let's talk about the games that we did bet. I'm going to start off with my first play. It is a total, and I'm going under 58 on Coastal Carolina and Buffalo. Dave, I didn't have the heart to lay the points. You know that we had made a ton of money with Coastal last season, and I haven't bet them yet this season. I had to go back to them after having a rough week last week and at least play them on the under here. I like the under 58. We're going with the Coastal cash. We're bringing back the hat, and we're going to win some Coastal Carolina money today on the under. Listen, if you listen to what Coastal Carolina has talked about coming into this game, they've really talked a lot about time of possession. They're concerned that they're losing time of possession in this game. Chadwell was quoted by CBS saying, "We need to get back to milking the clock." Buffalo's a team that the only thing they're going to be able to do is run in this game, right? So, we're looking at a 58 total, applied score 36-22. I don't see how Buffalo gets to 20. I'm going to be honest with you. They scored 3 points against Nebraska. Josiah Stewart, stud freshman defensive tackle, 3.5 sacks. He's dominant in the interior. Braden Matz, the senior, flies all around the field making plays. I think this Coastal defense is going to show up today. They have superior athleticism and speed. I think that they're going to be able to, really keep this Buffalo offense in check. Now, I think Buffalo is going to get their yards. They're going to run a little bit. They're going to move the chains from the 20 to the 20. But I think when they get inside that red zone and all you have is a running game, I think Coastal Carolina's defense is going to be stout enough to really keep them off the board. And that's really what I think is driving, my play on the total is I'm not sure how much Buffalo is going to be able to score in this matchup. And, they're going to have to run to do it. So they're going to be chewing up the clock. Chadwell already talked about how they want to milk the clock on their side. Buffalo's at home. I thought the defense – listen, they let up some big plays with Martinez in the running game. But outside of that, they kept their running backs in check. I think they had 31 carries for 106 yards if you take out Martinez's chunk plays against Nebraska. So I think the defense at home can hold up if they're not getting that dynamic Coastal attack today. I think Coastal is going to be a little bit conservative. I think they're going to try and milk the clock today. So that's why I'm playing the under here, under 58. With Coastal Carolina. That is an official play. Discord members got it earlier in the week, but I think you can still get that number today. So I think it's one we got to pounce on here, Dave.
Yeah, it's a cool play. I like it. And here's, watching Coastal Kansas the other week, right? I was very surprised at how efficiently and Kansas was able to move the ball. And I think that kind of lit a fire under Jamie Chadwell. We've always talked about this, or Chadwick, sorry. It's the best coaching opportunities, right? When he gets a chance now to go back over the film and show all the mistakes they have and really maybe recreate the game he wants to coach. I think you're really nailing it in. Coastal is going to come out. I think they're challenged today. They'll move the ball. They'll score. Hold Buffalo to under 10, 14, and like you're saying, under 20, we get there. So I like it. I think he's challenged the defense. I think they show up in a big way today.
Yeah, I do. I think both defenses do. I think Buffalo at home, I think the defense steps up a little bit. Coastal's going to score points. We know that, right? But they can score 40 and still this thing can still hit the under, right? I think Buffalo is going to have a real hard time. Only 3 against Nebraska last week. I don't think they can do anything in the passing game. So I think it's just going to be that type of game. A lot of running, a lot of grinding out the clock. That seems to be the way going in. So I'm taking the under here on Coastal Carolina. Now, Skylar Thompson, big injury. Nevada taking on Kansas State this week. Dave, what is your take on that game?
I did it last week. I took 2 group of 5 teams that I ranked in my top 6 or 7 overall coming in this season. What was one of the ones that I ranked in my top 3? Nevada, the Wolfpack, and I'm going with them strong today. You know why I'm going with them strong? Because they got Carson Strong. That's right. QB, you're going to hear his name a lot, especially come NFL draft time. He's going to be someone that could move up quickly into that first round talk. Really, he's had an awesome start to the season, 346.5 yards per game through the air in his first 2 games. They already won one Power 5 game early in the season when they beat Cal, went out there to a Pac-12 team. Now they go to a Big 12 team. They really haven't played the Big 12 since I think it was 2011. So it's been a while since they've been able to get on their schedules, and they're going to treat this one as their bowl game, at least until they get into their conference schedule. I'm really pumped up for this game. Nevada is 4-1 against the spread recently against teams with winning record. They're 8-3 after gaining ATS after gaining over 450 yards in their prior game, which they did last week. They're a very dynamic offense. They haven't run the ball really well yet, and I'm not sure they've needed to. We're going to have to see going into this game because they will at least need to be a little bit more balanced because K-State has registered 10 sacks so far this year. I think that's 4th or 5th overall in the NCAA. So they are getting to the quarterback in their 2 wins. So going to need a little bit more balance. Romeo Dubes has to come out, their wide receiver, and be a little bit more explosive. He's had some 2 average games from his take. But the key for me is Nevada will move, will score. Can Kansas State, you talked about earlier, Skylar Thompson went down with a knee injury. Now they have to pull back to an old retread in Will Howard.
It's not the same. It's not the same with Will Howard in there, man.
It's not good news. I think last time he was out there for a season, he threw 8 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. They cannot move the ball through the air. They're already struggling with only 144 yards per game passing. Nevada, on the flip, we've talked about their offense, but their defense has been great so far. They even have more sacks than Kansas State. They have 11 on the year, 3rd overall in the NCAA. They are getting to the quarterback. Linebacker Andre Carter has 4.5 sacks already. If Kansas State can't move the ball in the air, they can key on the run game. They can go after the quarterback on known passing downs. It's going to be. I think Nevada's defense can control this game. I don't think it's going to be a huge shootout, but I think Nevada goes to K-State and wins this game. I really like their matchups, especially D-line to Kansas State's O-line, and then I just think the quarterback situation is such a wide gap that I think they can put up the points when they need to. Nevada -2 at a Big 12 team. Let's roll.
Let's roll, baby. Listen, the Wolfpack, punch it in. That's all you. I don't bet Wolfpack anymore after NC State let me down. Every time I hear Wolfpack, I think of that stupid running back jump pass last week with NC State. But listen, Nevada, a great play. Carson Strong getting a ton of hype. You talked about it. About playing at the next level. I've seen some early mock drafts that had him much higher than I expected. It's going to be, a hell of a year for him. And, Nevada's a team to keep an eye on. Sneaky value on Nevada. I like them in this matchup, though. You got to fade Kansas State, without Skylar Thompson, I feel like. So punch that one, guys, in. Make sure you go to the Sharp app. Download the Sharp app. Punch it in. Listen, it gives you odds on all your favorite sports books. It gives you the best line that's out there. That way you don't have to go sports book to sports book. It's all right there. FanDuel, BetMGM, PointsBet, DraftKings, whatever the best number is, you're going to get it when you're betting on the Sharp app. So make sure you download that today.
They're out. Mountain West, baby. Mountain West. Big, got a lot of good teams, a lot of good football out there this year. Keep an eye on it.
Yeah. Listen, man, it is the best part about this season is just that there's so much football. Like last year was so tough with the limited games, and some teams play 3 games, some teams didn't play at all, some teams play, the full season. It was just really difficult. So it's nice to have a full slate every Saturday. But Dave, I'm going to get into my second pick right now, man. And this is, listen, College Game Day's there. Everybody's talking about this matchup.
You're doing it. You're doing it.
I did not learn my lesson last week. Last week, I took some swings at the bottom half of the SEC, and I missed. I'm coming back. We're going to keep swinging. I'm going at Auburn at Happy Valley. Give me Penn State -5 in this matchup. I'm laying the points in the whiteout. Listen, I don't care about USC. I don't care about distractions. The Penn State defense held Wisconsin down to 10 points. Graham Mertz to 5 yards per pass. They were 7 for 22 on 3rd downs in that Wisconsin game. Now he gets Bo Picks in the whiteout game. Bo Nix 1-6 versus top 10 teams with a 4-7 touchdown to interception ratio. He has a 9 touchdown, 10 interception ratio in his career on the road. Now he goes to a primetime game in a crazy atmosphere on College Game Day. I'm taking another swing at the SEC. I don't care. Phil Steele had this Auburn team ranked fifth, right? Below LSU, below Ole Miss in the SEC West. And I agree with them. I think LSU is better. I think Ole Miss is better. This is a 6-7 win team rated before the season. Now they play a couple cupcakes. They play Akron. They play Alabama State. They put up a couple 60-point performances. And everyone thinks they're going to win on the road against the top 10 team. I think Penn State's going to be able to run the ball here against this Auburn front. Listen, I know Clifford's not a great quarterback, right? I am not out here caping for Sean Clifford. There are limitations there. I get it. But I think this week he can play well. He's not turning the ball over this year, and that is going to be a huge factor in this game. I say lay the points. Listen, Penn State's got Nova next week. They got Indiana on deck. They're going to be 5-0 heading into week 6 against Iowa, and that is going to be a game I cannot wait to see. Listen, I'm all in on Penn State here. Lay the 5 points. I sat around all day staring at the odds board, hoping to get the 4.5. Didn't get it. We're going to lay the 5. Discord members got it yesterday in the Sharp app. But love Penn State. Love the whiteout. Fading Bo Nix all the way.
Listen, I'm not playing the game. My side is Auburn. I'm just going to be honest, and maybe I'm going to be crazy, right? I think a part of it is what I watched last night, that Gus Malzahn was the problem in Auburn. Dylan Gabriel looks like a mess. Losing at Louisville is an absolute disgrace. Throwing the ball with 30 seconds left to a receiver that wasn't even looking, pick 6 to win the game. Like, they seem a little bit – Bo Nix stinks. We know. We could go back to every show we did last year. I hate to do as much as you, maybe more. But now under new coordinator, Mike Bobo, it's a little bit more calm. It's not the Bo Nix show. You got some good running backs. Auburn's D, I mean, they've allowed 23 yards rushing a game. I know they've played Woodbury High School and Sterling, but still, I mean, only 2 rushes over 10 yards in 2 full games. I think Penn State, you saw how they struggled to move the ball at Wisconsin. I kind of like the points in this one. I think Penn State probably gets away with victory late. But again, I'm probably not playing it, and I'm going to root for you. I'm going to know tonight if Gus Malzahn was the problem. That's what I'm going to find out tonight.
Yeah, I think this one opened to 4.5, went all the way to 6.
It did.
And then you're starting to see it come down a little bit. But I hear you, I understand, but I feel like I cannot change my priors in week 3 based off of Akron and Alabama State. I think this Auburn team stinks. I mean? And I get it. Yeah. It's Big Ten versus SEC. I'm not changing my priors on that. Penn State's a top 10 team. It's the whiteout. It's a great, there was a lot of stuff going around yesterday. Penn State's only 8-8 in whiteout games. Yeah, you know why? 7 of those losses were against top 10 teams, right? They're playing Michigan. They're playing Ohio State. They're playing all the best teams in the country. That is not Auburn. That is not Bo Nix on the road, right? So I'm taking my chances with Penn State. Yeah. I'm taking another swing at the SEC. I'm not going to stop till I knock these guys out, Dave. I'm telling you.
I like it. I can't put money on Bo Nix, so that's why I'm not going there. And it's you ever and I know you do this. I struggle in this game. I just can't. And you've at least dialed in. That's why I'm going to ride or die here. I could see it both ways, and that's why I just can't.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people in Auburn that I really respect that are on Auburn have said it's almost like a cliche. It's like they're like, yeah, I'm on Auburn. Like, I think it's a 3-point game, and that's really what they say. They say I think it's a 3-point game, so I'm getting more than 3 here. I'm going to take the points. But I just think if it goes bad for Bo Nix, like I expect it to go bad for Bo Nix, it's going to be bigger than a 3-point game. Like Bo Nix isn't the type of quarterback that goes on the road and just doesn't play well. Like he plays atrocious. So, if it goes bad, it's going to go really bad. So that's why I'm comfortable laying the 5 points. But we're going to see. It's going to be a fantastic game. We are cashing our tickets with Penn State.
There you go.
But
I like it.
Let's. I hope our boy Arroyo is still listening. Eric, if you're still listening, baby, I think Dave's got one for you. Fresno State taking on UCLA. Dave, it's an interesting shade of blue you got on. Let's talk about this one.
I got the sissy blue. Yeah, the sissy blue. Tell them, Coach O. Tell them what they look like, and then they'll shove it right down your throat and beat your ass and send you back home because that's what Chip Kelly did the other week, and I loved it. I loved every second of it so far this year. 2 big bets on UCLA, 2-0, and you know what happens? You get those teams that you start to love and you start to ride and you just start to see, but don't take it for granted tonight, UCLA, because Fresno on the flip is 3-0 against the spread, and I'm going Bulldogs tonight. I really like the Fresno State Bulldogs to hang tight in this game. Listen, I've already known about their defense. Really played well against Oregon, but has played well all season. They held Oregon to only 358 yards. Ohio State couldn't even hold them under 500. So that tells you something. They're only allowing 91.3 rushing yards per game. We know what Chip Kelly is built on. We know it's the running game. Zach Charbonneau has been fantastic. But if you've got that stout of a defensive line and you key in on the run against UCLA, that quarterback, Dorian Finney-Thompson, he's been average at best so far. They've won despite him. And I think there's so much value in this line tonight. My SP Plus rankings has UCLA is somewhere in the 19, 20-point favorite, and it's 11. Vegas is telling you something. UCLA is riding high. They got a lot of momentum. They see USC loss. They can be thinking about Pac-12 championship. and they could be thinking way ahead of Fresno State. Fresno State has a great quarterback too, and Jack Hayner has thrown over 1,000 yards in 3 games so far, 8 TDs, no interceptions. Fresno's been tested. They know. They play Oregon already. They're ready for this. So I'm really pumped up for Fresno in this game. I think they might really show what Sissy Blue is, but in the end, I think Chip's team does pull it out. But I got Fresno with the points. Give me those 11 tonight, late night game, crack a few open, and ride or die.
I love it. Look how quick we turned on Chip Kelly, just like that.
I ain't turned.
Listen, our guy Arroyo checking in. He's got Fresno State plus 11 too, so he's going to the bank with you. I think it's the right side. I agree with you 100%. When I look at this game, the key takeaway, and this is for the listeners, this is kind of, how you need to start looking at things with this game. The first thing I thought of when I saw Oregon whoop on Ohio State was Fresno hung with them. Hung with them. You know what I mean? And then, your eyes look to the next week. Who's Fresno playing? What's the line look like? That sort of thing. So, that Oregon loss looks a lot better after we saw Oregon beat up the Buckeyes. So, I think it's the right side. I also like the over in this one. I didn't bet either, but I like the over. I like the 11, 63.5. I think we're going to see a lot of points tonight, man. I think it's going to be an exciting game. I might live bet it. I might just
listen. Max Johnson from LSU was throwing the ball around the field against UCLA. Had 330 yards. Every time he threw it, it seemed like there was nobody around LSU's wide receivers. They just kind of stalled near the goal line. And you're talking about Hayner, who's averaging 333 yards a game, 336. Like, I think they're going to move the ball through the air. So even if UCLA does get through with that high scoring that you think with this game going over, I'm with you. I think Fresno can keep up.
Yeah, I do too. And definitely keep up within the number, right? Between 11. So I don't think UCLA is going to pull away in this one. It's going to be a fun one, man. Fun late night games. We'll see if I have to add to my card. But one game I do have on my card, just for a half unit, is Michigan. So we're going to bring Lexi on now. We are going to talk about Michigan. She's right in Ann Arbor. So she's definitely dialed in. There she is right now.
Oh, yeah, let me just get rid of that.
No worries.
You can see my glasses still, so we're good.
Lexi, thanks for joining us, man. Doing a great job behind the scenes, making us look good with all the, all the technical pieces, behind the scenes. But tell us a little bit about Michigan going into this season, Lexi. A lot of people down on Harbaugh. They thought it might be his last stand. He's come out with some big wins, laying, a big number, 27.5 today. I like them anyway to roll over Northern Illinois. But what is the feeling, on campus? You have season tickets, correct? You're out there with the fans. Tell us just a little bit about the atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, there's, college football Saturdays are just like a religion. It's just so electric. Campus. I mean, even driving in here, everyone's just going crazy, and you just miss it because we went a whole year without it, and realized that we took it for granted, and so just being able to have this back is just so amazing. It's my favorite time of the year. It's definitely going to be a good game today, though. I'm excited. It's going to get a little bit of a revenge on that quarterback from 2020 with Rocky Lombardi at Michigan State. So I'm just hoping, with how good our run defense has been, I know Northern Illinois has that Harrison Whaley, who actually has more yards running than Blake, Corum. So I was looking up those numbers last night, and I was thinking, oh, man. So as long as our run defense can stop, I think this is going to be a really good game. It's beautiful day for football. It's outside. Awesome. It feels so perfect. You can't beat the cool fall college football days.
So it's interesting that you talked about the running defense, because really what's been key for Michigan's, I guess, rebirth so far is that Don Brown's gone. Defensive coordinator. We talked about a little before the show. Last year, they were 120th in havoc. They just weren't able to create any negative plays, weren't able to be in the backfield at all. But now it really seems like with Mike McDonald coming over from the Baltimore Ravens, you just have this new look and new energy on the defense. I think, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I think the defense has really been the key to this year's great start.
Absolutely. I mean, and you can't, you have to circle around the whole defense and Aiden Hutchinson. The guy's just been a monster. So it's just really it's coming back and getting that disconnect that was happening previously. I mean, I think just redoing all of this defense and getting some new insight in here has just been refreshing. I mean, watching these last 2 games, it was like, man, this is the Michigan football I've been missing. This defense that's just hungry and it's just gonna just suffocate you, because that's what it is. It's like that's what I thrive for. That's what Big Ten football is defense, and I'm hoping Michigan comes back with that. I'm really excited. But Mike McDonald is a breath of fresh air compared to what we previously,
Yeah, I felt like, the main thing that Brown did that really, he was just so aggressive. He left the cornerbacks on an island a little bit, and they didn't really have the talent there to do that. So I feel like McDonald's scheme definitely fits the talent that they have on the roster and what they do. But Lexi, what is the feeling in the atmosphere, at Michigan, at these tailgates? People have to be extremely excited. I mean, I think it was like, coming into the year, they didn't know what to expect. Last year was just brutal, right? There's no other way to put it. But it looks like it was an outlier. Like, it looks like the program's back where it needs to be. And, they're going to have some huge games coming up today. Like, Northern Illinois, a little bit, of a cakewalk today. Hopefully it's a cakewalk by more than 28 points. So I can put a little cash in my pocket. But, at the tailgates and everything, people got to be excited, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have, actually about 4 different tailgates where I can swing in and out of through, and people get set up, cook breakfast and lunches, and then you got the Victor's Lounge, that WTKA runs, and that's amazing too. It's just so electric. You can't beat it. You can't beat it. And with the fall weather and everyone reuniting again after a long pandemic year, it's just beautiful. It really is. And there's just no other way to describe it. It gives me goosebumps when I think about it, because I love college football. So
yeah, 2 weeks away, traveling to Wisconsin. It's going to be
but let me ask, do you love Cade McNamara? I mean, he could only 44 yards passing last week. Still got to be a little bit of a concern. They're going to have to be able to throw the ball, because teams in the Big Ten, like you spoke of, are going to just stuff the box. I mean, you had 2 great running backs last week. You already mentioned them, go for over 150 yards each.
Yeah.
Got to throw it too, right?
So, the first game he had, was 120 yards, I think, or 135 yards. Yeah. But the thing about the Washington game is don't break it if it isn't, don't fix it if it's not broken. And it's like they couldn't stop the run. So run. However, there's going to be a little bit of woes thinking, okay, how is this passing game? How is Cade? Am I 100% confident in Cade? To be honest with you, I'm not really sure yet. I haven't seen enough. Last year, he did a great job, but then got hurt, and so it's always the back of my mind, the injury prone and stuff like that. But I'm confident in Harbaugh actually allowing these things to kind of come together more than they have in the past. I really love what I saw out of JJ. I love that, that cross the field pass, man. You love to see that from someone young, but I think just at least with Cade being kind of more of a leader and a little bit older, I am going to go with him, and I'm going to stick with him until he proves me wrong. But I think they're really holding out, and I think we're going to be seeing some great things here. So I'm hoping and praying, that they give me something. But you can't deny the whole fact that Mike Hart is bringing this running back core back to what he had, back in 06, 07, all those years. So it's going to be interesting to see, but yeah, I have faith in them until they don't give me that anymore. So let's see.
Yeah, I mean, and it's tough. Like when you talk about McNamara, it's tough when you lose Ronnie Bell right from the jump, right? God, and then it's like your number one guy, and then you got to kind of build chemistry, with the rest of the group. So that was a huge injury as far as their passing game, but they're going to get tested. I mean, listen, Rutgers. We talked about Rutgers next week. Rutgers
I'm saying
live,
don't write them off. Don't write them off, and don't even write Maryland off. I mean, all these teams that I feel like we had blowouts before, you just can't write off anyone in the Big Ten. I think everyone's kind of coming together to build their program so we can start competing more with the SEC and stuff like that. So it's you just want you want to be able to just run it and do it Let's go.
Yeah, I took the Michigan over total at the beginning of the season. It's funny you mentioned over 7.5, and I wrote down 3 coin flip games. I said if they can get 2 of these, Washington was one, or I got that, and I had Indiana and Northwestern, both home games. And I'm like, wait, those are wins now.
Yeah.
And now it's turning the coin flips for me are at Michigan State, and you mentioned it at Maryland. Those 2 games have now turned into the coin flip games where I'm like, ooh. So it's funny how the Big Ten does kind of adjust itself. And Michigan, there's no real easy game in the Big Ten anymore.
No. And that's kind of the hardest part is that we just all beat ourselves up all year. And then, you get to the end of the season and it's like, no one can skate by just by playing cupcake teams, But I'll never write off the Michigan State game. I don't care what year it is, what it goes. I'm telling you, I learned my lesson a long time ago actually 2015. Let's just say that. I learned my lesson then and I just been running with it ever since. So, you just got to just take it as it comes, but, definitely never keep them under the radar because they'll come up and get you.
That's awesome. It's going to be an exciting season for Michigan. I can't wait, and I can't wait to have you here every single week with us to talk about it.
So
Lexi, I appreciate all your help today, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun going forward. Next week, hey, listen, I'm from South Jersey. Little Rutgers, Michigan. We'll see how it turns out. Shiano is always live in these situations, but I feel much more comfortable if it was in New Jersey than having to go to Michigan.
Didn't Michigan beat them like 100-0 in Rutgers' first game in the Big Ten like a couple of years ago? It was like
78, actually 78.
78. I added 22. Yeah, it was close.
That's part of why I laid the points today, because it's like I feel like Michigan in these spots when they have a team that they're physically superior of, they pound them into the dust. Like they don't Harbaugh run it up all day. He don't care. Like you know what I mean? And
I want it pounded in there all day. Give me like 100-0. I don't care.
Yeah, it's sometimes when they play the cream of the crop, they don't always show up. But when they're physically better than another team, have the talent edge, they usually beat them pretty handily. So should be a big win for Michigan, but. Listen, we got to wrap things up, but everybody out there, make sure you download the Sharp app. Follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handles are below @DGleck, Lexi. The Twitter handle is Lexi Go Blue. Go Blue Lexi. There you go. I'll get it. Go Blue Lexi 117 and me @X_Drumheller. Everybody, best of luck today with your bets. It's going to be a fantastic college football weekend. It already started last night with some crazy heroics with Maryland and UCF. Those games were just insane. Or Maryland and
Illinois,
Illinois
UCF
and then Louisville and UCF. Yeah, I was going back and forth with those games. They were absolutely crazy. But everybody, thank you for listening. Hope you catch your bets. Get on the Sharp app. Get on the Discord. Bet with us. Sweat with us and collect with us, right? That's what we're doing all day, betting these college football games. So come join us. Lexi and me and Dave will be back next week. Everybody, catch